to do so. So if you have any doubts, we can address them in your Google Classroom section. I'm going to mute you all right now. So mark your attendance by using chat option. Write your name and you will be marked as present. So let us start with the contents of that right now we have to discuss today. So in our classroom, we have discussed till 80, IO architecture or IO organization, the computer system architecture. It has already been asked in your midterm examination about the use of DMA controllers and other IO segments. So in this module, this is discussion about the fourth module. And in this module, we are going to discuss about the IA IA family operation or 8086 architecture. So 8086 architecture, basically in our syllabus, it has been mentioned that 80 or 86 architecture is a basic introduction of the programming model of IA32 and IA64 models. One thing has to be taken into account that we need not to go into the depths of IA32 and IA64 models as they are very complex and they need a significant understanding. Whatever has been mentioned in your syllabus is just an overview of IA32 and IA64, and that overview is nothing but the programming model overview. And as we have to discuss the programming model overview, we just need to know about the basic architecture. So I hope that you all are familiar with the basic concepts of 8085 microprocessor, and you might have a little bit of understanding of 8086 microprocessors. So we are going to discuss about a brief operation of 8086 microprocessor. Uh, Consider it as the overview of 8086 microprocessor. And another phrase or point has been mentioned in the syllabus, that is a concurrent operation of EU and BIU. This EU and BIU, is nothing but execution unit, and bus interface unit. So it has been mentioned in your syllabus that a concurrent operation of EU and BIU. What is EU and what is BIU, that we will discuss in the next slide or subsequent slides. Then we need to discuss about the addressing modes of 8086 and real mode addressing. There are various modes of operation in a 8086 microprocessor. In a 8086 microprocessor, So out of these all modes of addressing, we need to study about the real mode addressing only. We have virtual mode addressing, etc. There are other modes of addressing also in 8086 architecture, but we just need to focus on real mode addressing and how segmentation is carried out in this architecture. Then we have to discuss about the instruction set of 8086 and how it is and how IO addressing is done in case of 8086 architecture. So I shared a presentation with all of you in your Google Classroom regarding an Intel IA32 family, and I have also mentioned about about IO32 family architecture in detail in a document shared to you. That is Intel manual for IA32 and IA64 family. So basically, IA32 is a basic architecture, and this basic architecture has a subsequent processors under it, as we have Intel 386 1985. The specifications of this processor are that it has got 4 GB addressable RAM. Then we have 32-bit register. This IA32 family will have a 32-bit register set. All of them will have a 32-bit register set. And that is why this family is IA32 family. Then all the registers will be 32-bit registers, or we may call it, they are GPRs. The GPRs are general purpose registers. These are general purpose registers, as we are familiar in case of 8085 microprocessors. In 8085 microprocessor, we had 8-bit register, 8-bit accumulator. Then HL pair was 16-bit HL pair. So we will see how the register organization or the architecture has changed in from 8085 to 8086, then 8086 to IA32 family. So Intel has subsequently developed, after 8085, we developed the 8086 microprocessor, and there were some extreme changes in 8086 microprocessor. In case of 8086 after 8086 development of 8086 microprocessor, there was development of the family of Intel 32 family. But the base processor was 8086. And that's why these all architectures which we study, they all are regarded as 80 cross 86 architecture, because the fundamental base lies with 8086 microprocessor. So in this IA32 family, Intel 386, which was implemented in 1985, 4 GB address equivalent, 32-bit registers. Then this introduced a feature of paging and a virtual memory. As we are familiar with the concept of virtual memory, we have discussed the mapping of virtual memory in the classroom, and how we know that what is virtual memory, how it is mapped to, and how it is mapped to the main memory. We have studied it. This processor had a frequency or the clock frequency up to 33 megahertz. Now, after the implementation, successful implementation of Intel 386, we had Intel 486 in 1989, which introduced instruction pipeline, a new feature, instruction pipelining and integrated FPU. So integrated FPU, this FPU is the floating point unit. This was introduced in Intel 486. It was absent in 386, but it was present in 486. Then another feature is 8K cache, which was further improved. So nowadays we see that we have 2 MB of the cache, 4 MB of the cache, or 8 MB of the cache. But it was first introduced in Intel 486 in 1980. It was 8K cache. Then in K, it was subsequently, the features were subsequently being improved, as in Pentium in 1993, we have superscalar or 2 parallel pipelines were possible. So what is this instruction pipeline and what is this 2 parallel pipeline? These terminologies will be discussed in the subsequent module in detail. But right now we are just focusing on the basic architecture of IA32. And before going to study the architecture, as I have already shared the presentation, you might have seen that that presentation. So in this case, we have this IA32 family architecture. Before discussing it, we will study the basic overview of 8086 microprocessor. So let us start with the 8086 microprocessor. A review of, I will call it a review. Maybe this is a new processor to all of you, but I still will call it review because you have gone through the course of 8085 microprocessor. This is the review of 8086 architecture. So the basic architecture of 8086, it includes the following. We have an arithmetic logic unit. Then again we have a flag resistor. Then we have GPRs, general purpose resistors. And we have an instruction byte queue and segment resistors. 8085 was a 8-bit microprocessor, but this 8086 architecture, this architecture is a 16-bit processor. This microprocessor is 16-bit microprocessor, and this is 8086 microprocessor. So let us discuss one by one. This is the figure representing 8086 architecture. As we can see that we have the architecture of 8086 microprocessor has been divided basically into 2 sections. One is regarded as the execution unit. Another one is regarded as the bus interface unit. This is bus interface unit. And every unit has its own function to perform. So in your syllabus has been mentioned the concurrent operation of EU and VIU. So EU and VIU, why they are operating concurrently? They are operating concurrently in order to increase the speed or the working speed of the processor, to improve the speed of the processor. So we have an architecture of 8086 divided into execution unit and bus interface units. These are GPRs, general purpose registers. In case of 8085 microprocessors, we had 8-bit accumulator. In this case, we have an HL pair to represent the accumulator. So every resistor set has its own utility and its importance, and it has been divided into HL pair. The purpose of doing that HL pair is we have separate L section and H section, and you can edit both of them. And if we change the contents of L section or H section in the HL pair, the contents of the resistor AX will change automatically. Automatically, you are changing the accumulator of this processor. Apart from this, we have some resistors here, and these resistors are 16-bit resistors. These are this is stack pointer. This one is regarded as base pointer. This is source index, and this is destination index. So these resistors were absent in case of 8085 microprocessors, but they are present in 8086 microprocessor. So as we told you about, as I told you about that 8086 microprocessor is the building block of the subsequent series of microprocessors of 80x86 architectures. So everything starts from here. Then we have the segmentation block in this part. This is code segment, data segment, stack segment, and extra segment. And these are internal communication resistors. Then we have an instruction queue. This instruction queue is an important part, and we will discuss in the subsequent slides that are coming. We have a control unit in this part. So the part of execution unit is we have general purpose resistors, then we have pointers and indexes, then we have a data bus, ALU data bus. In this case, the data bus is a 16-bit data bus. As we can see that in case of 8085 microprocessor, the data bus was an 8-bit data bus. The address bus, actually the address bus in the 8085 microprocessor was 16 bits, but in this case, the address bus will be a 20-bit address bus. We have 20-bit address bus. So 8086 microprocessor has the capability to address 20 bits of 2 raised to the power 20 memory locations in the address section. So let us start with the separate discussion of EU and BIU. So what is EU? EU 8085 CPU logic is partitioned into two parts, as we have discussed right now. One is known as bus interface unit, and one is known as execution unit. And what is the reason for this for this separation? This separation ensures the increase in its processing speed of the processor. As we can see that what is the function of BIU, bus interface unit? Bus is used for communication. We have already noticed that the bus is a set of wires in computer system hardware that are used for the purpose of communication. So we have bus interface unit. The bus interface unit has to interact with the memory and input and output devices. Remember, we are talking about both memory as well as IO. So BIO has to interact with memory and input and output devices and fetching the instruction and data required by the EU. So whatever the data is required by execution unit, it has to be made available by BIO, bus interface. So they are you can say they are just two faces of a coin. They are carrying out the execution simultaneously, and hence to maintain the speed of the processor, to make a processor faster, we need to concurrently operate EU and BIO. So if BIO is fetching the instruction and sending data to the execution unit, then execution unit, what the execution unit is doing, execution unit is responsible for executing the instructions of the program to carry out the required processing. So whatever opcode has to be executed, this instruction has to be performed by the execution unit. So this is a block diagram representing the performance of EU and PIU. We have part of this is part of 8086 microprocessor, and this microprocessor is being interacting with execution unit and bus interface unit. This bus interface unit, it fetches opcodes, read operands, and writes data, and it transfers this data to the execution unit. Then execution unit executes the instruction. So the job of PIO is quite simple: to fetch a data from this part and feed it to the execution unit. And this is the architecture. So let us discuss them one by one. Uh, Start with execution unit. The parts of execution unit are: we have a control unit in this section. We have control unit, then we have instruction decoder, ALU, general register, flag register, pointer, and index register. So the control unit, the execution control system, we have this control unit, which is connected to the instruction queue. This instruction queue, in between we have an instruction decoder, which has to be decoded first to be transferred to the control system. So so this instruction queue will carry the bits of the instruction and will be subsequent. As we can see that this is a queue bus of 8 bits. So this will be transferred to the control system after being decoded by the decoder. So these are the parts of the execution unit. Let us discuss them one by one. In execution unit, we have control unit, which is responsible for coordination of all other units, as it was in 8085 microprocessor or the basic computer architecture, as we have seen in previous class. Then we have an ALU. ALU, what is the job of ALU? ALU performs arithmetic and logic operations. We all are familiar with that. Then we have the instruction decoder. Instruction decoder, the job of instruction decoder is to translate the instruction fetched from the memory into a series of action that has to be carried out by the EI. So the job of instruction decoder, which is placed at this point, which may not be visible in this architecture, you can consider this instruction decoder as a part of this EU control system. The instruction which we are getting from the bus interface unit has to be first decoded, then it will be transferred to the EU control system, which will then execute this instruction. So as we can see that the instruction decoder will translate the instruction fetched from the memory into a series of actions that can be carried out by the EU. And let us discuss the important part, that is the resistors of the execution. As we are talking about, there are general purpose resistors. So the general purpose resistors, we have general resistors are used for temporary storage and manipulation of data and registers. It is again to be emphasized that the general purpose resistors or the resistor sets are used for the manipulation of the data. Data manipulation is change in data. If you perform any operation, whether addition, subtraction, or comparison, so it changes the data in the accumulator. And as it changes the data in the accumulator, it can be regarded as data manipulation. So data manipulation can be categorized into two categories, as ALU performs both kind of operation. So it can be arithmetic data manipulation, or it can be a logical data manipulation. It can be a logical data manipulation. So arithmetic data manipulation or logical data manipulation that will be stored in this general purpose register. So accumulator register consists of, in this case of architecture 8086 architecture, accumulator register consists of two 8-bit registers AL and AH, which can be combined together and used as a 16-bit register, that is AX. So in this case, accumulator is nothing but the HL pair combination of two resistors, 8-bit resistors, that is AL and AH. Similarly, all the resistors of this 8086 microprocessor has been divided or combined into two resistor sets, HL pairs, that are 16-bit resistors. So accumulator can be used for I/O operation and string manipulation. Base resistor consists of two 8-bit resistors, B and BH again. It is again a 16-bit resistor. What is the basic use of base resistor? So it usually contains a data pointer which has to be used for base indexed and register index addressing. So what is this? These are addressing modes which are 8086 addressing modes, which are the addressing modes that are available in 8086 processor. And we can see that they will be, we will see them in the subsequent slides that are yet to come, and or maybe in the next class. So right now, for this time, you just need to know that we have a register set BX, which contains a data pointer, which is used for the addressing. And addressing, which can be a based addressing, based index addressing, register indirect addressing. So then we have a count register. What is register set is C. Again, this register set is of 16 bits, and this register set is used as a counter in string manipulation and shift rotate instruction. This is a string manipulation and shift rotate instruction where you perform shift operation or rotate operation. Then this count register will be manipulated. Then the register D, the register set D, DL and DH, which can be combined as DX. So this data register can be used as port number in IO operation and integer 32-bit multiply divide on instructions, the DH register. So this is basically a data register in which the data can be stored for IO operations also. So this is a representation of the register set in the execution unit. As I have already told you, this register set is nothing but a combination of HL pair. We have regarded them as accumulator register, then we have base register, count register, and data register. They are HL pair sets, as we can see in this case, and they all are starting from 0 to 16 bits. We can separately access them. If you want to access, suppose if you want to access the lower part of the HL pair, you can access it and make subsequent changes to it. But the changes will change the contents of AX in all, because AX is nothing but the combination of H and L, and hence manipulating the contents of any of these resistors will manipulate the contents of AX thereof. So this is nothing but a data group, and it has 4 register sets, which are also, or which may also be regarded as GPRs, or general purpose resistors, which may also be regarded as GPRs. In IA32 architecture, in the manual I have given to you or provided to you, and that you can see that we have GPRs. They are extended GPRs. If you remember the diagram of the GPR in case of IA32, it has further been extended to 32 bits, and this 32 bit has been regarded as EAX. So this is nothing but extended version of 8086 microprocessor. So let us switch on to the next slide. So next part, which is an important part, this is the part of execution unit, that is flag. So this part is free from the two parts. That is, we have two important parameters to be dealt with. One is data transfer. One is data transfer, and other one is we have other one is data manipulation. So data manipulation and data transfer. If there is no data manipulation and if there is no data transfer, and still when these one of those flags set or reset, then this is regarded as status manipulation. This is the part of status manipulation. As we are changing the status of the process, we are not transferring data, we are not modifying data, we are just changing the status. So after an arithmetic operation, if we have zero, so zero flag will be set. So uh, this register set, as in 8085, we just had 8-bit flag register to represent it. In case of 8086 in microcontroller, we call this register as processor status word of PSW represented by flags. This is a flag register. So as in case of 8085, every flip-flop has its own uh, indication. In this case also, we will have every flip-flop indicate its own status. So this is the status indication of 8086 microprocessor. As we can see that these are bit mnemonics, that OF represents overflow flag, reset flag, and so obviously it is zero. What is the function? If OF is set and arithmetic overflow is occurred. So arithmetic overflow will be indicated by OF direction flag. Then we have interrupt enable flag. Then we have a trap flag, single step loop, sign flag, zero flag, auxiliary, parity, carry, as we are. So the other part is below those general purpose resistors, we had, as we have seen in the architecture previously, uh, these were the GPRs, general purpose resistors. They have a special, whatever the purpose they had, we have discussed it. So right now we are talking about the pointer resistors and the index resistors. So let us discuss that one. The execution unit, the pointer has been distributed and the pointer and index group. We have separate pointer and index group. This pointer and index group has been divided into four register sets. One is stack pointer, then we have base pointer, then source index, and destination index. And everyone has a role to perform. So these pointers play an important role, as we are familiar that what is a stack. Stack is just operating by the instructions push and pop. So push pop instruction for a stack operation. Then we know indexing. Indexing means addressing to a particular location in the memory. So if we need to perform indexing for a source, then it will be regarded as source indexing. We need to perform indexing for a destination where it has to be written. So it will be regarded as destination index. So these were the parts of execution. Let us talk about the bus interface. So as execution units had some important parts. These were the parts of execution unit. Bus interface unit also has some important parts. This is address bus, which is 20 bits. Then we have data bus, which is 16 bits, And apart from them, we have these segment registers that we'll discuss subsequently. This is bus control logic, and this is important part, which is known as instruction queue. So let us discuss them one by one. So bus interface unit basically has an instruction stream byte queue, a set of segment registers, and an instruction pointer. So what is BIU instruction byte queue? As we have seen that BIU instruction byte queue, 808586 instructions vary from 1 to 6 bytes. So the instruction set of 8086 vary from 1 to 6 bytes. As we have seen that every instruction has required number of bytes, memory bytes. As if you remember that move instruction was to be carried out one byte of operation in 8085 microprocessor. Then we had MVI to be carried out in 2 bytes in 8085 microprocessor. So in this case of 8086 microprocessor, we have the instruction which may vary from 1 to 6 bytes. So we will see that how they are being operated. So instruction byte queue will have, as this is evident in this figure, this bus instruction interface unit has an instruction queue, and we can see that we have the instruction which will vary from 1 to 6 byte representation is there. So the job of instruction byte queue, the fetch and execution are taking place concurrently in order to improve performance of the microprocessor. So BIU feeds the instruction stream to the execution unit through a 6 byte prefetch queue. This part is important. 6 byte prefetch queue, as this is the basic, or you can say this is the base, or this has set a base for the concept of ILP that we will study in the next module. ILP, that is instruction level parallelism. So we have a BIU which feeds the instruction stream to the execution unit through a 6 byte prefetch queue. We have a prefetch queue. The bytes have been arranged in a sequence that has to be carried out. So this prefetch queue can be considered as a form of loosely coupled pipelining. It's an example of pipelining. It's a loosely coupled pipelining, and it's an example of the pipelining. The prefetch queue is just basic or the starting of the concept of pipelining, which has been introduced by Intel in subsequent of the coming versions of the processor. That is 80186 or 80286 or 386. As we have discussed in IA32 architecture, that it has, as we have mentioned in the first slide, that in Intel 386 we have paging and virtual memory feature. In case of Intel 486, we have introduced instruction pipeline. So the basic concept of instruction pipelining has been started from 8086 itself, and this 8086 itself is the base for this IA32 family architecture. So after this instruction pipelining basic, we have superscalar introduced in Pentium 1993. So in this case, this prefetch queue can be regarded as a loosely coupled pipelining, which is executes the instruction set of sequence. Then we have execution and decoding of certain instruction do not require the use of buses, while such instructions are very fetches up to 6 instruction bytes for the following instructions. And stored, these instructions are stored in this instruction byte queue in the sequence FIFO. This FIFO sequence is nothing. This is first in and first out. This is first in and first out. So we can see that this is instruction byte queue. The one which gets in first will get out first. So this is the basic concept of IBAN. Then we have segment offset notation, which is the part of addressing. Then we have total addressable memory is of the order of 1 MB. And how this is 1 MB? We have a 20-bit addressing unit and a 20-bit addressable address bus can address 2 raised to the power 20 locations in the memory. So 2 raised to the power 20 locations in the memory can be regarded as 1 MB. So most of the processors or instructions use 16-bit pointers and effectively address only 64 KB of the memory. To access memory outside of 64 KB, CPU uses special segment registers to specify where the code, stack, and data 64 segments are positioned within 1 MB. The scheme used in 8086 is called segmentation, and every address has two parts. One is segment and an offset. So an address generated by a CPU or the processor, an absolute address can be regarded as the absolute address will hold the segment which is a 16-bit part, the segment which is a 16-bit part as we can see to access memory. Most of the processor instruction use 16-bit pointers. The processor can effectively address only 64 KB of the memory. To access memory outside 64 KB, the CPU uses a special segment register to specify where the code, stack, and data 64 KB segments are positioned with 1 MB of the memory. So in 1 MB of the memory, 64 KB segment will represent the code, stack, and data part. And that information has to be placed in this segment. The segment task, which is of the order of 16 bits, and we have an offset to represent where it is located. So this is the absolute address to be generated by CPU. We will see in subsequent slides how segmentation is performed. Consider this as just an introduction to the segmentation. We will see in detail what is this, how segmentation is done. So we have the segment registers. There we have 16-bit segment register. And the 16-bit segment register has been divided into 4 parts. One is code segment, data segment, stack segment, and access segment. Where every segment has to perform its own operation. So every segment represents some part in the memory. As a code segment represents program memory, data segment represents data memory, stack segment, and extra segment. There is an extra segment that has to be used as part of uh, the memory. As we will see, it has a special utility. So different areas. What is program memory? Program memory is the program can be located anywhere in the memory, which will be regarded as program memory. Then data can be accessed from any of the 4 segments. That is a part of the memory. Then we have stack memory. Stack is a section of memory set aside to store addresses and data while a subprogram executes. When we call the interrupt subroutine or a subroutine has to be executed, then the main program execution is halted and we execute a subroutine program. So there is a process by which this subroutine calling and execution is performed. We place that particular address location from where we have to start after the subroutine is over. We push and pop. Two instructions are performed on the stack memory. And in the case of subroutine execution, then we have extra segment. This segment is also similar to data memory where additional data may be stored and detailed. So this part is just for additional data that has to be stored in the segment. So we have segments to be represented. This is segment register set. So every segment is a 16-bit register containing address of the 64 KB segment with processor instruction. And what is the use of this processor? What is the use of this segment? The use of this segment is the processor uses the code segment for all access to instruction referenced by instruction pointer register. Now, this is important. This is instruction pointer register. So, instruction pointer register, as we can see that this instruction pointer register. Let me show it to instruction pointer. We have instruction pointer register at this point. This is instruction pointer. So, what is the job of the pointer? The job of the pointer is to point to address a certain physical address location. So, we have a certain physical address location which will be represented by this instruction pointer, position of the address of the instruction. So, these are code segment for instruction pointer register. Then we have stack segment for the stack pointer. The processor assumes that all data referenced by stack pointer and base pointer register is located in the stack segment. So all data related to stack pointer and base pointer will be the part of stack segment. Then similarly, we have data segment, which is again a 16-bit data, 16-bit register. And what this data segment holds? This holds the processor assumes that all data referenced by general register. So GPRs, whatever the GPRs are holding, AX, BX, CX, and DX, and index register is located in the data set. So data that has to be holded by some part. So segment registers are holding a particular part of this general register and index register. So data segment register is holding the part of general register and index register. Then we have an extra segment register. This extra segment register, the processor assumes that the DI register references extra segment string manipulation. So this is the part of string manipulation, or we can see that extra segment is just like extra register that can be utilized for data storage. So this was just an overview of the 8085 microprocessor, which may not be, which you may not have studied previously. So to understand the architecture or to get a brief overview of IA32, we must
चेक करेगा वो
8086. So I think this is all for today, and in the next class we will discuss about IA32 architecture, and it has to be again emphasized that we need not to go into the details of IA32. We just have to understand what is the basic overview and basic architecture of IA32. Because IA32 is not just a processor, it is a family of processors. It has 286, 386, 486, in its domain. So if we want to go into the details, there is no harm. You can access certain manuals for IA32 architecture and read the subsequent models of those processors that have been mentioned and what the features have been updated to the version of the processor. So in this module, in the next lecture, we will just discuss about the basic overview of IA32 architecture and programmer's model, the part of your syllabus, and which will be further implemented in IA-64 architecture also. But similarly, it can similarly be implemented in IA. This is all for today. Thank you very much. And if you have any doubts, as if we have a lot of disturbance in this, if I unmute all of them, there is a lot of disturbance. Uh, your doubts can be addressed. You can ask your questions on Google Classroom, and I will try to address your queries in good time. Thank you very much. This is all for today.